he's an asshole. As a nice guy, here's one thing that I think you need to understand in order to genuinely attract healthy, empowered women. Because one thing that I found in the conversation around black cat energy a couple months ago on TikTok, there was this concept of black cat energy, where basically it was playing hard to get, being unavailable, not being the golden retriever energy, which is like just showing up whenever you call. It's not that that is innately attractive. It's attractive because of the um, mimicking of a securely attached person that it creates. So I want to start there that this is not meant to be clickbait around how to attract a woman and pretend to be a, a bad boy or an asshole to attract her. What I want is to give you the underlying reason why that works so that you can recreate it in a way that feels authentic to you. So, what we want to talk about in terms of attracting healthy, empowered individuals is this idea of healthy space. This week, I'm talking about healthy space because this is something that I find for a lot of my clients, it's very difficult to understand. If you have any sort of anxiousness in your attachment system, in your nervous system, sorry, I'm still recovering here. It's going to be difficult for you to comprehend how this feels because you've not had this modeled to you. When you get this modeled to you, it creates such anxiety that you instinctively don't want to recreate that for someone else. So, we want to recalibrate what this actually means. I'm going to give you some tangible examples as well as some energy principles for you to start practicing so that you can try this on for size and see for yourself how people respond differently. So, the thing that bad boys are really notorious for is this idea of just doing their own thing. They're like, whatever. She comes, she goes. She's here, she's not. Don't care. They have this um, sense of self that is innately attractive to women at large. And I hear this all the time in comments where men are like, I don't understand what she sees in him. He's an asshole. Clearly, he doesn't treat her the way she deserves. And yet she is drawn to him magnetically. The reason that it's magnetic has more to do with the unconscious than our conscious choices. Unconsciously, there is something really attractive and safe about someone who is secure enough within themselves to have their own life going on. The reason that that is attractive is because it actually creates an aura of freedom around this person for other people to do the same. And for a lot of my clients, and this is both male and female clients, they have a history, a family history pattern of some kind of enmeshing dynamics. And I am not a psychologist or a therapist, so I want to just explain what I mean by that is the idea of emotional enmeshment is this sense of self that is fused with other people. You are able to really feel other people's feelings because you kind of become one with this other person. Kelly, my cat is just in my lap. We had a deal how we were going to be very good, and that's the way we're going to stay up here. Otherwise, we're going to get put down on the floor, not put down. I love her. So, what I want to explain is it's this idea that your emotions become someone else's and vice versa. You take on more of their emotional experience than you need to. You don't have this healthy sense of perimeter. And that healthy sense of perimeter is what is actually attractive to women in the case of the bad boy or the asshole. They really want to be around someone who has enough sense of self. Because my theory is that for most of the women out there, they've had to do a lot of their own work to create this sense of healthy autonomy within themselves. Women are historically socialized to be able to absorb lots of people's energy around them, their emotions. They're able to tune in to what's happening, to kind of read between the lines. And in a lot of ways, this can have some healthy pro social adaptive benefits. And for my male clients, when this is the case, often it's because they have been kind of engulfed by their own typically their mom, one of their parents, their caregivers kind of like leaned on them emotionally and brought them too much into their emotional world so that you were feeling what she was feeling. You were very attuned to how she was feeling. And this really needed to have been dad's role. And Karen, I love you so much. Oh my gosh. I need to text you back. I've not forgotten. I saw it. You're on my list of to-dos today. I love you so much. This really should have been dad's role to be able to be with mom in that way and not let the child be the one that is responsible for adult matters, emotions that are too big for a child to handle. When this happens, it creates this wound within the child that now focuses so far outward and not enough inward that they don't ever develop this sense of autonomy where they get to do their own thing, they get to feel like their own person, develop their own likes, dislikes, interests, what they do and don't feel comfortable with. So it's actually really kind of this amorphous sense of self that then goes out in the world and is trying to connect with other people. The reason that this is challenging is because when you're in this space, you are actually wanting to. This is like your blueprint for how healthy relationships work. If I love you, I become so close to you that I can feel everything you feel, and we just go through life together in this way. And the truth is, it's not going to be attractive to a woman because, A, this is something that she's had to probably really work around and resolve within herself so that she can stand on her own 2 feet and kind of direct her own life. It's going to feel a little bit of like ick for her because she's probably had to resolve this within herself, and it's going to be a red flag that she doesn't want that kind of dynamic. But also, when it comes to polarity between the masculine and the feminine, it's going to put you more in that feminine space in more of a childlike stance. And what she's looking for, again, that healthy dynamic where dad should have been stepping up and comforting mom and being able to be with these bigger emotional experiences, she's looking for someone who's on that level. So the reason that it's really attractive to women and why they end up dating these bad boys, the like real asshole that just kind of ignores them, doesn't care, isn't super invested in them emotionally, is because that actually feels on some level safer for her because she gets to at least have her own sense of autonomy. And I find this in reverse too, because men will often choose women who are emotionally unavailable for the same reason. This is why my clients who tend to be nice guys actually end up with women who are, by my definition, when I'm looking at the dynamic, not actually emotionally available to them. They may be super emotionally available and kind of like looking for this sense of closeness and intimacy, and they're looking for this emotional bond to be created. And the other person is kind of facing the other way. So it's sort of like if you're, chasing after this person and they're actually like running away, that's always the experience that you're having because that's the experience that has been set up on a nervous system level from a very young age where you need this huge amount of emotion to feel any kind of closeness. The reality is, healthy space when it comes to adults, healthy space is going to feel really attractive because it's not actually about physical or um, time space. And that's the nuance that I want to bring to this. It's not anything to do with physical or time distance. Doesn't matter how frequently you're seeing this person, how much time has gone by between your dates, how far away you are. You maybe get across, in a different part of the state, and she will still be able to feel you energetically when you're coming at her with that energy of it feels kind of like smothering energy. And I want to share this, and I mean this with so much love because if you are someone who has grown up with that as the dynamic, it will feel normal to you. Kind of like when you start going to friends' houses in high school or, whenever you started interacting with other people's families and you're like, oh, that's interesting that that's how they do that. That's not how my family does that. The more you're around other people's families and other people's way of doing things, you start picking up on the differences, the subtleties of like, oh, that's interesting that that is normal for them. That's not normal for us. That's not how we've done that. You can kind of like weigh it out, and depending on your development when you were that age or even now as an adult, you can see things and you can say, do I like that better than how we did it, or do I want to keep what we did and kind of reject this or adapt this thing that I'm seeing? The same thing is true in terms of emotional intensity. You may be really used to emotional intensity, and it's actually going to be pushing women away because it is too often too much too fast. So, healthy space is not about physical distance or time distance. Again, the amount of time between seeing people. It is an energetic awareness of where you end. And if I can share nothing else, that is what I want for people to take away is this awareness of where you actually end and your energy, your kind of like emotional force field, if you will. I know this sounds really it's kind of hard to explain, but you've probably been around someone who's been angry and you can kind of like sense it. Someone can walk in the room in a bad mood and it just sort of like flattens the whole room. You just feel it. If you've ever had that experience, that's what I'm talking about, of this awareness of your energy, how you impact things around you. Your ability to know where that limit is what is going to create healthy space, because if you don't know where that limit is, you can be the one that walks into a room in a sour mood and kind of dampen the whole experience for people, and not be aware enough that that is something that you are creating in the environment around you. Once you become aware of your limits, it's not about changing your mood or needing to be in a certain mood. It's about understanding your impact on other people so that you can start to create that healthy differentiation, that perimeter around you that lets people see the real you, so that you don't have to be absorbing other people's emotional experience to feel close to them. You get to start owning your actual emotional experience and letting people see you in it. And that's what's going to create that healthy feedback loop of you being enough of a self, yourself, to draw people to you, even when you are experiencing big emotions. This is where we have to start breaking some of that, creating a little bit of healthy distance, that healthy space for yourself to start doing that healing. That's what I work on with a lot of my clients, is helping them to start to reflect back their own emotional experience so that they can start to feel this sense of containment of what is in my sphere. That's over there. That's with them. This is with me. So that you can start to discern, am I feeling this way because this is how I'm feeling? And for a lot of people who have this kind of like what we're calling sort of this enmeshed dynamic where you've been just sort of swallowed up by other people's emotions for most of your development, uh, you're going to be doing that to other people without being aware of it. And so I wanted to shed a little bit of light on that because that is going to be um, pushing people away who are emotionally healthy, the ones that I want for you to be attracting. It's going to be pushing them away because they don't want to create that dynamic with another adult. That is going to be too close, too much, and it's also going to feel like stifling their freedom. So, healthy space is again more of an energetic awareness of where you end, which gives other people an awareness of where they get to start and where they get to be around you. The more that they are able to feel a sense of freedom around you, the more attractive you become. Have you ever had that experience where you're around someone and you just feel like you get to do you? You get to be all of yourself, and it doesn't seem to rattle them. They're not judging you. They just kind of accept you as you are. If you have had that experience, it's deeply healing, especially if you have any of that experience of having been overly um, uh, smothered. I don't, I can't think of a better word, but where you've had that kind of like claustrophobic effect where to be in relationship means that I'm going to be overtaken in the attachment world. And if you've looked into any of the attachment theory, if you haven't, it's really a great resource. I don't use it all the time, but it's part of my training too, is to understand kind of how that creates dynamics with people. But in the attachment theory space, people who have been kind of engulfed have this deep wound when it comes to creating closeness with another person, that is what's going to be recreated. So you are going to be pushing people away because typically the people who have that kind of wound show up as more avoidant. That means when they are under distress, they tend to avoid, they tend to move away, distance, withdraw from things that are too much for them. That's their coping style. And it typically is also going to be attractive to someone who's trying to heal that. That's why they are attracting someone who is pulling away because you want to create that experience for yourself where you're able to stand on your own 2 feet and really learn what that feels like to have your own sense of autonomy. When you can create that sense of autonomy within yourself using the framework that I teach all of my clients to do, but this real sense of I'm standing on my own 2 feet, I'm drawing a perimeter around me of what I like and don't like, what I need, who I am, I can see myself clearly. Then you start to approach relationships from a more securely attached place. Again, going back to that attachment theory model, when we are securely attached, we have enough of ourself online. We are developing, kind of like maturing into this version of ourselves where we have opinions about things. We are not shaken by the fact that other people have different opinions, other people have different feelings, because we can start to see, and this comes with a maturity. You have to be practicing this in order to develop it. It's not like an overnight thing. Um, so I want to be very clear about that too. But you start to develop this sense of maturity where you can see where other people got to their sense of opinion, their feelings, their experience based on their life history. You have enough of your own like story online where you can say like I could see how I would feel this way because of X, Y, and Z that happened. That's what's starting to show up for me, and I get to be with and tend to that experience and move forward in a way that feels both honoring to where I legitimately am in my process, but also the goals and visions that I have that I'm supposed to be here doing, as well as seeing other people as separate and having their own timeline as well. So they have their own history, they have their own experiences, their own interpretation of the world, their own wounding that's causing them to behave in that way. And when we start to create enough of an awareness of where we end, we can see where they end as well. And this gap in between is the space where we get to start connecting with people authentically. That's what creates that attraction that bad boys tend to model really well. So, the healthy version of that that I want for my clients, the kind of recovering nice guys who have historically been more willing to bond with people very quickly, feel their feelings with them, have this deep emotional capacity to meet people and really be warm and open hearted with them. I want for them to start having this awareness of where they end because that's what's actually going to create healthy attraction with a woman who's available for you, who can see you and is actually going to celebrate the fact that you are letting her see you. The way that we let people see us is through the boundaries that we set, where we say, actually, I can't do that. This is what I am available for. That doesn't work for me. I would prefer to have it this way. That is what's going to allow people to start to see where your limits are. And that is something that is challenging for people to develop when they have grown up in this world of um, just emotional, like bonding, where you're just sort of like merging with everyone around you. You don't have enough of your own um, opinions online to create that perimeter where people can actually see you. So it's attractive because it allows the people around you to have freedom to engage with you in a way. Oh, let me see this. I'm old and happily married, but this is so enlightening. I have a couple friends. Oh no, it went away. Oh no. I'm figuring this out. So thank you for putting that in the chat. I just um, can't actually see the. Okay. Well, I can't actually see the chat while I'm doing these. So that's good for me to know. I need to do a little research on that. But thank you for commenting. And thanks for being here. I love you so much. Um, but it is actually really attractive because it allows for people to have choice around you. And when you become someone who people feel and get a felt sense of, I get to be myself around that person, you suddenly become more attractive. We talk about this on the podcast a lot, is that you become attractive when you allow other people to have the feelings that they like feeling. Women are naturally attracted to men who get to create the feeling within them that they enjoy feeling. That's why men who can create a sense of safety or adventure, excitement, peacefulness, those are going to be people who naturally feel more attractive. And the same is true for men. Men are naturally attracted to women who they feel safe, not safe in the same way, because it's not about physical safety typically, it's about like acceptance. They get a sense of acceptance around these women where they can just be all of themselves and not feel like they have to hide things. where they feel like they have freedom to move about, they have some autonomy, they are not going to be smothered and controlled. That is why those people become more attractive, is because you get to be your full self around them. You don't have to sacrifice who you are to be in connection with them. And when you haven't had this healthy space modeled to you, what you've probably had modeled is that you have to be parts of yourself around certain people, and you can't bring other parts of yourself around the same people. And what that does is it's going to fracture who you are. If it doesn't feel like you can be all of yourself in integrity, the more you are maturing, the more you are learning about yourself, the more lonely it's going to feel around that person, because you can only be half of yourself around them. And this is going to cause injury to the connection, because we want to be able to exhale and take an out breath and, kind of like unbutton your pants at the end of Thanksgiving. Like, it's that feeling of like, there's just room to just be a human here. Um, it's that feeling of making yourself more comfortable. And the more that you are able to be aware of where you end and where other people start, the more freedom you're going to create for them to be more of who they are, and the more accepting you get to be of all of them too. It doesn't mean that this isn't going to trigger things for you and bring up discomfort around maybe your beliefs, some insecurities, some wounds, some things that you get to look at. But that is the gift of being in closer connection, is the reflection that people give back to us, is the parts of us that we get to take more ownership of. And that's why I say, for a lot of my clients who have historically been in that nice guy or the good girl camp, this wasn't actually modeled for you of how to create emotional closeness. So it's kind of this like collapsing together that is the expectation. And when that doesn't happen, it creates a lot of anxiety. And what you're actually doing is kind of like capturing someone and holding on to their leg. You're not letting them leave. That's not how adults relate. That's how a child would relate to their parent when they don't want to see them go to work. So that's not energetically what we want to be creating if we're wanting to create authentic attraction with someone that we would like to be maintaining a long term relationship with, whether it's platonic or if you want this to be romantic. It's definitely not going to be a sexy energy if you are clinging to their leg and kind of sitting on their foot trying to keep them from leaving. What we want is to mirror the essence of the bad boy, or that kind of like asshole energy of, this is who I am. I you can accept me or don't, and that's okay. It's that feeling that's created in other people where they can choose to engage with them and to what level, that's actually attractive. So I want to just clarify that, because that is the principle underneath this that we're wanting to take and start to implement in your day and in your dating life. And if that's something that you want some help with or support with, I have an entire program built to help people with that, especially nice guys who are wanting to reclaim some of that type of energy where they feel more in charge, more aware of who they are. They are naturally drawing people to them, because you create this leadership capacity when you have enough of that energy around you of like, this is who I am. It also mirrors confidence, conviction, authority, that healthy sense of arrogance of, this just is who I am, and this is what I'm here to do. People naturally follow that type of energy because they can see it clearly. It's not that it is something that they're afraid of. They are able to have enough clarity that they can see, hey, I agree with this, or this is um, this draws me in. This kind of like pulls on a chord within me, and I'm wanting to follow that because I align with it. You're going to start drawing in people who actually are available for the type of connection that you want. So, if that is something that you want some help with, I have 2 spaces left until February for one on one support. And I also have 1, 2, 3, and 4 week um, kind of mini sprints, if you will. 1 week to get your confidence back online. We're going to be doing some of this reflection of finding those perimeters for you, which is naturally going to boost your authentic confidence, because you start to see yourself a little bit more clearly. I've got a 2 week one to help you move through dating in a different way, kind of reframing how to let people go, attract new partners, kind of switch partners. Um, Kind of like a dance. When you're dating, you're sort of like do-si-do. It's time to let go of that person because they weren't aligned, and I'm ready to bring someone else into the mix. When you have a clear way to do that and a framework of how to do that in an empowered way, it's no longer as scary because you are able to let them go in a way that feels really dignifying. And it isn't going to be this huge heart wrenching thing where you end up staying way too long because you feel guilty letting them go or telling them that you don't like them as much as they like you. Whatever the story is that you've had, we can correct that very quickly. So that one is my 2 week option, 3 weeks to reframe your awareness of how energy works and really get clear on where your kind of energy ends and other people's begin so that you can start creating some healthy reflection in terms of what's coming back to you. You can be a little more masterful in your emotional awareness and start connecting with people in a different way. Um, Really creating some of that polarity in your relationships. So again, if you have struggled with women who put you in the friend zone, who see you as a really great guy, you're such a catch, but I just don't see you that way. I don't want to ruin what we have. I'd rather just be friends. I'm not looking for that right now, or I don't see you that way. All of those things that women have said, and I have said that myself before I knew all of this work. We can shift that very quickly with some new awareness. A lot of times that is informational perspective shift instead of kind of like deep healing. Obviously, the more that you integrate this information, you will naturally start seeing things differently and showing up differently and experiencing things in the world in a totally different way. So, I love helping people with that too. And then a 4 week one, if you are wanting to have some extra accountability around the new year and really shift how you see yourself. I worked as a dietitian for 10 years. I've recently just kind of transitioned more to relationships than dietitian work. So you may not know that I'm also a dietitian, but I have spent the last 10 years helping people with behavior change in a both body based somatic and body based, kind of a synonymous thing. Really getting in there and releasing some of the self doubt, the fear, the self loathing, that self sabotage that comes up when we're trying to make changes, engaging your partner in a way that helps you continue to build forward and take care of yourself, and really shifting on an identity level. So, really getting to the root of why these changes haven't necessarily stuck for you. We have a 4 week option for that too, to really get you a good jump start into the new year, taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of those things getting back in line so that you can feel like you're moving into the new year in a way that feels like thriving, which, by the way, is also your most attractive energy. If you're wanting to be dating in 2025, that is a really good energy to be starting in, is you feeling like your best, most enlivened self physically and emotionally. And, ooh, I forgot. I have a masterclass coming up at the end of the week on Friday. So after the holidays, or kind of in between the holidays there, between Christmas and New Year's, I'm going to be doing a masterclass to help you date differently in 2025. We're going to be talking about my predictions of what's happening in the dating space as a relationship coach, as someone who's been having these conversations on the podcast for 4 years now. I'm in the scene. I am aware of what's happening in the scene, and I have some predictions of what is going to be coming. But also, we're going to be talking about where people are meeting people in 2025. Like, what are we doing if we're tired of the dating apps? How are we meeting people organically? How do we need to be showing up in order to be attracting these type of people, as well as what we need to be getting in line with our own energy and our own way of being, so that we can start meeting these people that we want to be connecting with, vetting them more effectively so that we can move on faster, again, with less guilt and wasting less time without it feeling like an interview. So, those are the things we're going to be talking about on Friday. It's literally $11. I want for this to be super available for everybody. And I know that right now with the holidays, everyone is kind of going everywhere. So I wanted to pick that kind of time in between thanks, not Thanksgiving, what is it? Christmas. All the holidays kind of run together for me. Christmas and New Year's, right in the middle of that, where you may still have some downtime. I'm going to do it around lunchtime if you're back to work already. But snag a friend, go ahead and reserve your seats for that. Again, it's $11 and it is going to be jam packed. We're going to be talking as a community. It's open to men and women. I want for this to be a really community oriented space. And as I'm moving into 2025, that's something that's been on my heart, is to be creating and hosting more community spaces so that we can have these conversations that genuinely move us all forward in a way that honors us and what we need and the other people around us, so that we can find a way that feels collaborative and less like argument and fear. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you have struggled with in the past, if you have experienced that feeling of being kind of like swallowed, or if you have felt the feeling of kind of being at arm's length from people. Or maybe as I'm talking about this, you're starting to be aware of ways that you've done that. That can also be, while uncomfortable, also very healing to be aware of where you may be behaving in that way, because awareness is where we start getting some new insights as to things that we want to shift and change and grow and take more responsibility for. So I hope this has been helpful. I will talk to you guys later in the week. As always, let me know if there's something else that you have questions about. I want to be doing more of these because these are really fun for me. So let me know what you guys would like content wise, and I will see you guys soon.